is not understanding the blessing of going through a challenging time in the different seasons at work. So going back to, how we can think success is just the highlights and the wins. You can learn so much in an organization when you learn how to work with someone you disagree with, or when you learn how to deal with someone who doesn't live out the values that the company say that they have. And so when you learn how to navigate those uncomfortable situations, those tricky situations, those very gray areas, it makes you a better professional and a leader moving forward. But a lot of millennials see that stuff and they say, I want to dip. Now, I'm going to throw in a caveat here. If something's illegal and something morally unethical where, someone's life is in danger or money is being mismanaged, I'm not saying stick in it. But I'm saying if you don't like someone and they don't like you, that's something that you have to learn to overcome, because it's going to happen at the next job and the job after that.
Absolutely. You are listening to Our Voices. My name is Natasha Nurse. More with my guest, Jacqueline Twillie, founder and president of ZeroGap. Next on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHBC.
I started writing my letters so I can leave something for my children after I'm gone. I wrote letters for their 8th grade graduation, then their high school graduation. I wrote about all the qualities that I love about them, that I don't want them to forget.
No mom should have to write letters to her children because she has stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. Susan G. Komen. Get involved. Save lives. BeMoreThanPink.org.
Welcome back to Our Voices on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHBC. My name is Natasha Nurse, and my guest today is Jacqueline Twillie, founder and president of ZeroGap. Oh, I wish I had a million hours with you, but I'm going to try to get through all my questions. Okay, so you gave some really interesting advice on kind of biggest lessons to, biggest mistakes to avoid. Now, in your career so far, what would you say have been the biggest lessons that you've learned? And, obviously you can think about that from context of working for yourself as well as working in corporate America.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to something that happened in my early 20s that was a huge learning lesson, and something that I've often reflected back upon as appreciation that I learned it very early on. I did not understand the importance of workplace boundaries. So naturally, I am outgoing and friendly. And at a certain point, that backfired on me at work in a way that, a person was taking advantage of me at work. And what that looked like is I didn't get put up for a promotion and good things weren't said about me, not because I wasn't performing well or doing well, but because I had become a crutch to this other person that they needed me so much. And in my naivete as a young professional, I thought, oh, this is so good. This person relies on me so heavily. But at the end of the day, I did myself no favors. So that is definitely one of the things that I'm glad that I learned very early on. Dr. Henry Cloud has a book about boundaries in the workplace, and I think it's really good for us to understand that we can be outgoing and love our coworkers and hang out with them, but understanding where to draw the line so that we can still be efficient and effective getting things done.
I love that. And do you feel also that women have a tendency to be kind of more nurturing in the workplace than we should be? Or do you think that was just a specific lesson for you that you learned?
I think that was a specific lesson for me. When it comes to women are stereotyped as being very nurturing. And there are definitely women who are nurturing, and that can be a great leadership quality. On the flip side of that, being too nurturing or trying to play a nurturing role can get women assigned a lot of office housework, meaning work that isn't recognized or work that doesn't help them to elevate their leadership profile. So I think, that term nurturing and leaning into that skill of nurturing, it definitely is something that has to be checked and balanced at work.
Absolutely. Okay. And when it comes to, you mentioned earlier in our conversation about millennials having a tendency from jumping, and I definitely could confirm in my own career, the amount of pivots were more than one would expect or comparatively to other generations in the past. What do you think that trend is still ongoing, or do you think that that's something that has slowed down? What are your thoughts there?
So when it comes to as compared to other generations, when you look at people who are at the same company for 20 and 30 years, retired from the same company they started at, you can see a common thread that they would move to a new role within that company every 18 months to 24 months, 36 months, somewhere in that window.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that historically speaking, millennials are doing the same thing, but because companies don't have the same type of loyalty to their employees as they did back in the day, it forces millennials to jump. What I'm starting to see is that people have no problem going to their next opportunity, and actually companies look for employees who have diversity in the companies that they've worked for and the projects that they've worked for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at this point, it is a cycle that is benefiting companies to have very well-rounded employees.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what we will see in the future as the future of work changes. But I think it's definitely something that if the trend continues, it's good from the point of view that employees can adapt quickly to a new environment and still perform at a high level.
I love it. Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that, because I felt like for me, I went from college, from a science background, pivoted to law, went on to law school. Perfect timing in 2008. Everything went, that's a joke. You actually want security. That's funny. And it was quite an interesting time in my career as well as in this economy. But I agree. I personally did a talk with an organization as well about the value of having diverse candidates. And it's not a bad thing. I think companies benefit, like you said, from it. And people are now really having interesting backgrounds like content creation skills, right? Video editing or coding. And, maybe it's not a main thing that you can do, but in startup culture, that could be very much welcome to have you come on board. And yeah, maybe you do HR, but you also can dabble in other things, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You are listening to Our Voices on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Natasha Nurse, and my guest today is Jacqueline Twillie, founder and president of ZeroGap. So before we get on to some rapid fire questions, I do want you to be able to share. So I don't know if you have any upcoming events or announcements, but I'd love for you to share that. And also, how can people get in touch with you? How can they work with you, champion you, all of that?
Yes. So we have lots of events coming up with ZeroGap. That is what we do, is we work on these really immersive experiences to level up leadership skills. So the best way to find out what we have going on is to go to zerogap.co, and you will be able to sign up for an email list there and connect with me on multiple social media platforms. And I'm always on LinkedIn. It's my favorite platform to hang out with professional women. So if you do have a LinkedIn profile, would love to connect with any of the listeners of the show.
Love it. Yes. 90.3 WHPC family. You heard her. Connect and start. And I love that you shared that you love LinkedIn. I've been really emphasizing that people are sleeping on LinkedIn. And I'm like, there's like well over 500 million people on there. It's the best platform for professional networking. I mean, recently, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Just a side rant. Do you feel like it's a little bit becoming a little bit more like other platforms that are maybe less as formal and professional, or no?
I think it is evolving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's evolving into a place where people have pulled away from some of the other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because we are not one-dimensional at work. And we shouldn't be one-dimensional at work. We should be our full selves.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm seeing with the transformation of how people are using LinkedIn, it's becoming more of that holistic, this is who I am. Because at the end of the day, we hire people, we do business with people we know, people we like, and people we trust. And so by sharing our full selves on this platform, it's enabling us to build meaningful relationships.
Absolutely. I loved how what that answer you gave. I would have said something a little bit different and probably not as put together, just because I feel like I'm getting these kind of very weird messages, if you get my drift, and I'm just like, this is reminding me of another platform.
Okay, so we're going to go there. I will say this. One of the things that I have had to put a check on, and I know a lot of the women that I work with have experienced the same thing. Some people are using this like a dating platform. I don't play those games. I set boundaries. So if someone crosses a line, there's a very polite way to say, actually, that comment is inappropriate, and I'd love to conduct business with you, because we don't want to cut off potential business relationships, whether that's an employee, a client, or anything of that nature. And if people understand the right boundaries, most of the time they will check themselves. Now, if the behavior persists, then that's another story. I am a good friend of the block button.
Absolutely. You're awesome. So with that, let's get to some questions about you so that the audience can get to know you. So what's your favorite book to read?
So my favorite book to read is the Bible. And then second to that, the professional book that I give away the most is Secrets of Six-Figure Women by Barbara Stanny. And it really talks about the mindset of under-earners and over-earners, and the transformation from women who have went from under-earning at work in their professional lives to being a top earner.
Interesting. Okay, I definitely have to check that out. And what's the best way that you unwind?
So the best way that I unwind is a good laugh. So I am oftentimes surrounded by some really amazing friends and family, and whether that's cooking or going out to eat or just sitting outside chit-chatting, that is my favorite way to kick back and relax.
Okay. And if you weren't conquering the world and running ZeroGap, you would be fill in the blank.
I would be doing this. There's no other option. This is plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Yeah. You're giving me a good tickle. I love it. Okay. What is the best advice you've ever been told?
The best advice I have ever been told came from my mother. And when I started ZeroGap, when I left my position at the CDC a little over 3 years ago, I asked her, I'm like, okay, Mom, I'm doing this full time. You've been a business owner for over 20 years. What have you seen and what advice you can give me? And she said, the number one thing I will tell you is consistency matters. And she shared with me that she, over her almost 30 years now in business, she's seen people come and go, and the people who stay are the people who are consistent. Not meaning stuck in the same routines, but consistently doing what they do in an excellent way.
I love that. Thank you, Jacqueline, for coming on Our Voices on 90.3 WHBC. It's such an honor to have you on the show.
It was my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I hope our audience found you both as informative and inspiring as I did. My name is Natasha Nurse. I'm the proud host of Our Voices here on 90.3 WHPC. Our show's creative director is Rudy J. Breedy. Visit nccradio.org. That's www.nccradio.org for more information. This will be available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcast, and Spreaker. Our Voices is powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.